What's up, y'all? DJ Daryl here. It's going to be a harder video than usual, not as light as usual. But as you see in the title, we're going to talk about how to tell your child about death. Speak a little bit about grieving and figuring out what your kids should know at a young age. So on March 23rd of this year, we lost our grandmother. Our grandmother has been in our videos from the beginning. She was there when Ava was born, and every time we went to Houston for the rodeo, she was with us. She was there when Zora was born, so she's been a part of every season of our lives. She was there when we got married, when we got engaged, every part of our lives. Granny has been a part of. This is my wife's grandmother, but for the past 7 years she's been mine too. With this, the conversation comes up, do we tell our child, Ava, who is 4.5, well, she's almost 5, about what's going on? Because the celebration / memorial is here, and the family's going to be here, and Ava's going to be around that. And we just really didn't have the answers. So what I did was look for assistance. First I reached out to two mental health specialists. One a counselor, one is a coach. That helps me with my fatherhood questions. It's always great to have somebody around you, or people around you that can cover you with prayer and with education. So I spoke to them, had a candid conversation, speaking about how I felt that she's not ready for it. I don't know what to say to her. I don't want it to come from anybody else. You know, those concerns. The thing that came up when that conversation happened was they both said she is old enough to be told. And that changed the whole game plan, because I just was going to not bring it up. But with her being mature enough to know the basics, I was just advised to give her a few key things to just to understand in her brain. So I first want to thank everybody who has known and who has said our prayers and prayers for our family. It's been a rough time, but through God we've been able to get to this point. For the parents who are looking for information on how and what I said and how I did it, I'll give it to you. So the day before the celebration, before everybody came in town, I sat with Ava. First, let me back up. I had a conversation with my wife. Before you do anything, have a conversation with your spouse. Make sure that you both are on the same team. If she would have said that she doesn't want to talk about it or have her know about it, it wouldn't have happened. But I gave her what I would talk about. I showed her a couple videos on YouTube, and we discussed it. And I actually did it so that my wife wouldn't have to be around to hear the discussion, because it's still really raw. I kept it basic with Ava. After her nap, in the middle of the day, I sat down with her, told her let's talk. She had a seat. She knows to listen, and she immediately started asking, like, "Are you okay? What's wrong?" I'm like, "I'm okay, but we have to talk about Granny." She's like, "Is she okay? Is she sick?" You know what? I'm going to write her a letter. I'm going to tell her I love her and that everything's going to be okay. I'm like, that would be so beautiful if you could do that. But unfortunately, Granny is no longer here with us. And she was like, "What? She died?" And then started crying, ran straight to me, and I held her. I just let her cry. After she sat down, after she got done crying, I let her have a seat, and I'm sitting on the ground, eye to eye with her. I don't want it to be any type of dynamic, just to let her feel safe. Told her to ask me all questions that she had. She just said, "How did it happen?" I just told her that she's a little bit older. She is no longer sick anymore because now she has passed on. She's no longer alive. I explained what alive was. When you're alive, you know, you can talk, your hands can move. She no longer has that ability. but that doesn't mean that she's no longer with us, because we believe that her spirit is still with us, that her spirit is inside of us. And she'll like Jesus and like God. I'm like, yes. And she's up there with Jesus and with God, because that's what we believe. And we know that as believers that our granny believes in God, that never stops, and that she is in heaven with him. We didn't get to all that, but we did tell her that if she has questions, or if she feels sad, or if she misses her, please say so. We're here to help. We both shed tears. We all shed tears, and I wanted her to feel comfortable with doing that. The one thing that she was able to relate it to was Disney movies, Disney and Pixar. You know, Disney movies always have death. She specifically brought up Up, and I brought up Coco. Those are two characters that were older, and they passed away within the movie. So that was a way for her to connect it without giving basics. I was just advised not to say that she's sleeping. I advised her not to say that she's dead. I mean, that's the term, but when you're saying that, it doesn't seem as nice to say. I don't know how else to say that, but we were just saying that she's not alive, but she's still with us. She's not here physically, but she's in our hearts. It's been hard to grieve, and we didn't tell her for, it's been almost 2 weeks, and you know, we're sad, we're grieving, but the kids do help this process, because we now have we're going to make new things in our lives that incorporate our missing loved ones. We're in our house. We're gonna have flowers with her that will, you know, remind us of her. We're gonna try to build at least a patch in our yard that's a garden that will have flowers to commemorate our grandparents and our loved ones. Just little rituals. Rituals are a part of the grieving process that I feel is very necessary. And if you have got to this video because you are trying to understand what to say, just keep it basic. Allow them to ask questions. I even follow back up the next day, like, do you have any more questions? She just said she missed her, and I told her I do too. So give these kids a chance to be mature. I know that as we grew up, we didn't hear these conversations too much from our parents. That's okay. But now we know that our kids are mature now. I would just encourage you that when this happens, because if you're living, you're going to have to deal with it, talk to the kids about it beforehand, maybe, if possible. Let them know that some people get old, some people pass on, and we just keep them close to us. But I hope this encourages everybody to believe in their kids, because she taught me so much. So I want you all to know that this is a part of parenting. This is a part of fatherhood, and I said that I was going to strive to be as open and honest as possible through the good and the not so good. So thank you. Fathers, as I say, be patient, be present, and be proactive in our kids' lives so that they can become great humans as they grow older. Until next time, thank you.